Hello everyone. I hope you all are doing good. You all are safe and healthy at your home. Well, I'm Mrs. Tutima Bashista and today we are meeting for our social science history class. In today's class, we will be taking up the chapter from history that is the Great Uprising of 1857. And in today's class, the topic that I will be trying to explain is the Kudra Uprising. So let's get started with the chapter. And from your today's class, your learning objective will be you will be knowing about when did the Kudra uprising took place and who were the different and what led to the uprising of the Kudra uprising in Orissa. Let's get started. All right, the Great Uprising of 1857. I think you all must have heard of Mangal Pandey. I think there is also a movie on Mangal Pandey. So Mangal Pandey was one of the important ruler, very strong ruler of this uprising of 1857. He played a very important role in this revolt of 1857. So let's get started with this chapter. The chapter starts with a timeline. If you can see, it shows about the different years and what are the events took place and in these years. In 1856 CE, it was Lord Dalhousie who annexed the kingdom of Awadh. Then came after 1857, where greased cartridges became the main cause for the uprising. We will get to know what were the different causes, what were the different causes that led to this great uprising of 1857, in which places this uprising spread, and we'll also get to know why did the revolt of 1857 fail and what was the result of this revolt. And in 1858, we saw that there was the British Parliament. It passed an act for the better government of India. And in 1862, there was the Mahmud Bahadur Shah Jafar, who was the last Mughal emperor. He died in Rangoon. We'll all get to know how did Bahadur Shah Jafar die in Rangoon. So we have studied in preceding chapters how the British arrived in the purpose of trading, right? So in the chapter in the colonial rule of India, we got to know how the British came to India with the other European traders and how it started to rule India, right? And also and after British started to rule India, it started to take advantage of the Indian people. They started to exploit all the Indians, all right? And they started to administer the country. The British started to administer the country. And also they framed or they introduced many policies at the cost of the Indians, all right? By exploiting the Indians, they introduced many policies. Now, these policies that were introduced, or the certain reforms that were introduced by the British, that those were against the will of the Indians, all right? Most of the maximum section of the Indian population, they did not like the policies that were, or whatever reforms that were introduced by the British. So because of this constant and ruthless exploitation of the British towards the Indians, it led to widespread discontentment or unhappiness among the Indians. And because of this constant unhappiness and discontentment among the Indians, it led to the uprising, all right, the revolt of 1857 among the Indian soldiers. But apart from this revolt of 1857, there was also another uprising which people does not know much, that is the Kudra Uprising. So before we learn about the causes of the revolt of 1857, let's look into what was the Kudra Uprising. So where is Kudra? Kudra is a small place in Orissa, all right? It is a small kingdom which is known as Khurda, not Kudra, it's Khurda, and it was founded in the late 16th century. It was a well-cultivated and populous territory located in the southeastern part of Orissa. So Khurda, as I said, it is a small place and it is located in the southeastern part of Orissa. So Khurda comprised of 150 gars. Gars means forts, all right, and also many small and large villages. So 60 large villages and 11, not 9, small villages, all right. So in the past, Birakishore Dev, the king of Khurda, was compelled to surrender his possession of Parganas, the administration of 14 Garjats, and the superintendence of Jagannath temple to the Marathas. So because of a fight between Marathas and Birakishore Dev, who was the king of Khurda, Birakishore Dev had to give up his possession to the Marathas. So what were his possessions that he had to give up? He had to give up his possession of Parganas. I think Parganas we came across in the last class. Parganas are small like units, or like it's like small villages, all right? So these were the small possessions, the possessions which Birakishore Dev had, and he had to give up all his possession of Parganas and 14 Garjats. Garjats means princely states, all right? Whatever princely states he had under his possession, he also had to give up 14 Garjats or princely states, and also the superintendence of Jagannath temple. Jagannath temple, you know, it is in Puri, Orissa. So Jagannath temple was also under his possession, but he had to give up this also to the Marathas. So now you till here you got to know that Birakishore Dev was was the king of Khurda, who had to give up his possession to the Marathas, and Khurda is a small kingdom in the southeastern part of Orissa. Then Mukunda Dev's son, Mukunda Dev II. Now, who was Mukunda Dev II? He was the son of Birakishore Dev, all right, and he was also the successor of Birakishore Dev. He was very much disturbed. He did not. He felt really sad and disturbed with the loss that his father had to give up all his possession to the Marathas. So at that time, Anglo-Maratha war was going on. Like that, there was war going on between the British and the Marathas. So Mukunda Dev II thought that he would take advantage of this situation, and he thought that he will enter into negotiation with the British, all right, and for asking for help. That Mukunda Dev II thought that he will go to the British, as British were already having a fight with the Marathas, and he wanted to get back the possession from the Marathas. So Mukunda Dev II thought that he would ask for help from the British. But what did the British do? After that, instead of helping him, the British occupied Orissa in 1803. All right, and the British did not show any kind of help towards Mukunda Dev II. All right, and after that, instead, what happened? Mukunda Dev II was deposed. He was removed from his place, and his territories were captured by the British. So Mukunda Dev II went to the British for help. Instead, what happened? He was removed, he was deposed, and British annexed his territories also. An epoch of oppressive foreign rule. Epoch means one after another, all right? So one after another, so British started to introduce many unfair rules and regulations, many unfair policies, all right? And because of this unfair policies, it led to the revolt of 1817. An uprising started because of so much of unfair policies that were introduced by the people, by the British towards the people of Orissa. And after that, these reasons were responsible for the uprising of 1817. Now the British took over the Khurdas and followed the policy of resuming service tenures. All right, a service tenures means to work for only a time period, like a time period will be given. One can only provide his service within that time period. So when the British took over Khurda, they introduced this policy of service tenures, all right, where people can work only for a certain period. They demanded more revenue. Now after the British started to rule, captured Orissa, they introduced their own policies where they started to demand more revenue, all right, and they started to collect it oppressively from the people, all right, without thinking about the poor people. They went on collecting a lot of taxes and revenues. As a result, what happened? The people of Khurda on a large scale between 1805 to 1817, they had to leave Khurda. Why? Because it was not possible for them to pay the revenue or to pay the taxes. But the British also did not show any kind of mercy, or also they were not at all lenient towards the British, towards the poor Indians, all right. At times of natural calamity also, like when there will be natural calamity where there will be failure of crops, at that time also the British did not show any kind of mercy or leniency. All right, and because of all these reasons, the poor Indians had to leave Khurda, all right. And also land of defaulters. Defaulters means those who were not able to pay the tax, the land were taken away from them and were given to some other officials, revenue officials from Bengal. All right. So this was all these policies, ruthless kind of exploitation that the British did towards the people of Khurda. Then Jagabandhu Vidyadhar Mahapatra Bharam, Bharamadabar Rai. So this is a very long name and a tongue twisting name. You need to remember the name. It is, I'm repeating again, Jagabandhu Vidyadhar Mahapatra Bhramarabar Rai. And but he was popular, in short, he was popularly known as Bugzi Jugabandhu. All right. So who was he? He was the hereditary military commander of Mukunda Dev II. So Mukunda Dev II, we remember, who was the son of Birakishore Dev and who was also deposed by the British. So Bugzi Jugabandhu was the hereditary military commander of Mukunda Dev II. He was one of the dispossessed landholders, and Bugzi Jugabandhu was also a dispossessed landholder. Dispossessed, as I said, those who were removed from their own land. Land was taken away from. He was a landholder, but now he do not have any land. That is why he is a dispossessed landholder. So after, because he was made reduced to a dispossessed landholder, after that his situation became very bad. He was reduced to a situation of beggary. All right, he found really problem in surviving. So he had to go for help, from houses to house, asking for food or clothes. All right, so people used to contribute something for him, and he would survive in that way only. All right, so people of Khurda would help him with some food, and in that way Bugzi Jugabandhu used to make his survival. So he lived like this. So he lived this life of beggary and help from the people of Khurda for almost 2 years. But after 2 years, after that, he decided to fight for his own rights. He decided to fight for his own rights and for the people of Khurda. All right. So the grievances aggravated more when the British introduced a silver currency known as Sikka, rupee, in the region. So another introduction or reform that was made by the British was what? They introduced a silver rupee or silver currency, which was known as Sikka in the region. All right. So the British, now what happened? Now what did the British do? After introduction of this currency, the British made a rule that every revenue or tax has to be made in this new currency or in the silver currency, which is known as Sikka. So after that, the British also increased the prices of salt and food. All right, they increased all the prices, and the traditional salt makers. So they were traditional salt makers of Orissa, and they were also not allowed by the British to make salt. All right. Why? Because the British made rule that only the British will have the right. Monopoly means single rule, so that only the British will have the right to make salt. All right. Hence, the prices became far-fetched. So that is why the prices rose to unexpectedly. The prices rose. There was an increase in the price of salt, and also in the auction of local estates in Calcutta. So in Calcutta, what happened? The British, lot of local estates. Estates means large farming lands. All right. So large farming lands were sold. All right. Those were auctioned by the British, and because of the selling off of those big land areas, many absentee landlords came from Bengal to Orissa. All right, many people, many absentee landlords. Absentee landlords means those landlords who are not present in their own land. All right, but they do not come to see the land. Like only sometimes they will come. So that is absentee landlords. Those who are not present. All right. So these were the various reforms that we got to know. First was the introduction of the silver currency known as Sikka, and the British made the rule that the taxes has to be made in this new currency, and also the prices of salt and food rose unexpectedly. And also the British did not allow the people of Orissa, the traditional salt makers, to anymore make salt. Rather, it was the British who started to, enjoy monopoly over salt making. And also because of the selling off of so many estates in Calcutta, many absentee landlords started to come from Calcutta to Orissa, all right. And the corrupt and the insensitive police system worsened the situation for the armed uprising. And also at that in Khurda, the police system, the judicial system was very much corrupted. They were sold to the British. Whatever the British would say, they would just do in that way. So the British, the police system was also totally corrupted. So so it was the Indians or the poor peasants who had to suffer a lot. So all these reasons again aggravated the uprising in Khurda. So on 29th March 1817, the uprising set off when the Pikes not only attacked. So who are the Pikes? So Pikes are a group of army, like the local people who will form an army, like who fought for the state, all right, who fought for Orissa. So they called themselves as Pike, all right. So they were a group of army, all right, who will fight for the state. So on 29th March 1817, so the Pikes Day attacked the police station. They not only attacked the police station but also various government establishment at Banpur. Banpur is another place in Orissa. So so they now started to so the uprising has started because of so much of reason, because of so much of anger piling up upon the people of Khurda. So finally they decided to fight back. So the Pikes attacked the police station and different British establishments at Banpur. More than 100 men were killed in this attack, all right, and the Pikes took away a large sum of money from the government, and Khurda became an epicenter of the uprising. So the main effects were actually seen in Khurda, and from Khurda the uprising started to spread to other regions also, many other places, all right. So it was into so the uprising first took place in 29th March 1817 when the Pikes they attacked the police station and different British government establishment at Banpur. And the uprising basically it started from Khurda, and from there it started to spread to other regions also. Then the Pikes were joined by riots and zamindars. Who are the riots? Riots are those who works in other people's land, all right. So the Pikes were also helped by different many riots and zamindars, and a no rent campaign was initiated, and the Pikes they took in a campaign known as no rent campaign, all right, that they're not going to pay any kind of rent. So do you remember Bugzi Jugabandhu also decided to fight against the British? So on 14th April 1817, Bugzi Jugabandhu he seized Puri. He captured Puri with the support of the Pikes and the Kandh tribe. So Bugzi Jugabandhu was alone. He was now fighting. Initially he was fighting, but now he got the support of the Pikes and the Kandh tribe. And with their support, Bugzi Jugabandhu was able to capture Puri, all right, with their full support. Then, but looking at the situation, the British now got scared. They thought that the people of Orissa or Khurda, they were going out of control, all right. That is why what did the British government do? They declared martial law. Martial law means military law, all right, as because they thought that the situation was going out of hand. And what did they order? And after declaring martial law, they captured the king and also kept him and imprisoned in Cuttack. They kept the king and his son in prison in Cuttack, all right. So the uprising rapidly spread to the southern and the northwestern parts of Orissa. So even after the imprisonment of the king and his son, the people of Orissa did not stop. The uprising slowly spread to the southern and the northwestern parts of Orissa. So Major General Martindale, he was given the responsibility to clear off the clutches of the Pikes. So now the British also became very much alert about the situation. So this major British official, Major General by the name of Martindale, he was given the responsibility to clear off all the Pikes, to get hold of all the Pikes, all right, who were fighting against the British. So and also the British, what did they do to capture the Pikes? They announced rewards, all right, that those who will help to get hold of Bugzi Jugabandhu and all his other friends, they will be awarded, all right. So So the British, they started to play a dirty game now, where they said, as they, when they saw that the situation was going out of hand, now they decided to capture Bugzi Jugabandhu and all other pikes or his associates by declaring a reward that whoever will help the British to capture Bugzi Jugabandhu and his associates, they will be rewarded. So hundreds of pikes were killed. So because of that, so in this operation, many pikes got killed, all right, and also many pikes, they escaped to nearby jungles, all right, and also some returned, all right, some returned home. The uprising was mostly controlled. So by May 1817, it started in April 1817. By May 1817, the uprising was controlled, all right. However, outside Khurda, Bugzi Jugabandhu continued. So Bugzi Jugabandhu, he could not come to the hold of the British. Outside Khurda, he started to continue his fight, all right, with the help of supporters like other local pikes and also the king of Kujan, all right, until his surrender. Surrender in May 1825, Bugzi Jugabandhu gave a very strong fight with the British, all right, to for his own people, for the people of Khurda, but he got arrested in May 1825. So after his arrest and after that, the British also started to adopt a policy of leniency. Like they also started to show a bit, a mercy, or they started to be a bit lenient towards the people of Khurda. So what did they do after the uprising got a bit the intensity became lesser? Then after that, the British also reduced the prices of salt, all right. They also now thought that they should not be so harsh towards the people of India, or the people of Khurda. So they reduced the price of salt, and also they brought necessary reforms in the police judicial system. The corruption and all were reduced. Then corrupt revenue officials, they were dismissed from the service. They decided, like, all those corrupt officials who were there, they were also dismissed from the service. And also those, do you remember, land were taken away from many landholders, and also the land were taken, given back by the British to those people from whom land were taken. Then Ramchandra III, son of the king of Khurda. Do you remember the king and the king and his son were imprisoned in the in Cuttack. So Ramchandra Dev III, he is the son of, like, who was the king at the time? He was the king was Mukunda Dev II, right? So he was the son of Mukunda Dev II. So yeah, so with Ramchandra Dev, the son of Khurda, he was also allowed to shift to Puri, all right, and he was also given the, and Jagannath temple also, he got the charge of Jagannath temple with a grant of 24,000 rupees, all right. So this was all about Khurda uprising. Okay, so yeah, so this was all about Khurda uprising, where you got to know about Bugzi Jugabandhu, that Birakishore Dev, who was the king. Then came Mukunda Dev II, right? And then then came Bugzi Jugabandhu, all right. There was also then the British introduced many reforms, like introduction of silver currency, because of and payment of revenue, high revenue, and because of those reforms or policies that were introduced by the British, it angered the people of Kudra. So it was the pikes who attacked the police station and the various government establishment at Banpur in 1817. After that, Bugzi Jugabandhu also was able to recapture Puri, and slowly but slowly the British also, they also ordered martial law, where the king and his son was put into prison. But slowly the uprising was controlled in 1817. After that, Bugzi Jugabandhu also surrendered, and the British also, they started to show leniency in their reforms. So that is all about the Kudra Uprising. So that's all for today's class. In next class, we shall meet with another new topic. Till then, everyone take care and thank you.